alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Hello and welcome to Alive After Reading. I'm your host, Tim Niederreiter, and with me today is a new guest to the podcast, but it feels like he's been here for a while. J D Estrada, welcome to the show.
Greetings, fellow humans, and thank you so much for having me, my friend.
Oh, it's great to have you. It's kind of a first time, long time. Like we've been circling each other for a little bit, and I really wanted to have you on for a while. So it's great to finally have you here.
Right now is the right time. For some other reason, it's just one of those things. We were before we started the show. We were talking, shooting everything, not just species. And we did mention that I saw Sound of Music for the first time last week, and I'm 41, so it's the right time for us to chat.
What is that? The Diana Wynne Jones book? No, it's not Diana Wynne Jones.
No,
sorry, geez. No, it was A Wrinkle in Time. It was one of the sequels to A Wrinkle in Time. It was called An Acceptable Time, I think.
I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong. There was definitely a book called An Acceptable Time. I think it was in that same series as A Wrinkle in Time. But I forgot the name of the author, so I'm really bad. My lore for A Wrinkle in Time is very weak right now.
I've been pending to read that forever, and it's just one of those things that it's like, yeah, eventually I'll get to it. And whenever I read it, I'm probably going to be 60, and I go like, yeah, now is when I'm going to read the book.
It's actually, I think it'll only get harder the older you get, because when I was 10 and we had the audiobook or whatever, must have been maybe 8 or 9 even. And I remember there was an interview with the author, and at one point she said in the interview, it's like, or it was an essay or whatever, she says, this book, because she got a lot of people telling her, this book is too difficult for children. Because there's all this magic and other planets and weird, like, sciencey stuff, like Tesseracts and stuff in it. But then the thing she said is, no, this book is too difficult for adults. It's a really simple story, but adults find it very strange and challenging for some reason.
Well, adults like to wrap their things around things that make no sense and that are boring as hell, and then other stuff that is more digestible, they just skip through it, and it's like, no, this is too much. And when parents say, oh, my kid can't read that, it's like, can your child decide if they can read it or not? I think that would be best. That
is a reasonable stance, if you ask me. Granted, there are some things I'm like almost physically incapable of reading. Like it reminds me, like, the one thing I'm incapable of eating is probably pad thai. And for those who know, I'm kind of a gourmand, so
what's wrong with pad thai?
I don't know. I can't do it. I mean, I wish I could, because I know a lot of people love it, but it's like this. The taste of something makes me kind of sick.
That's odd.
It's not. It's completely involuntary, and I wish I liked it. It's one of those weird, like. When I was a kid, I used to be pickier, but now I'm like, I just want to eat whatever's good, and people love pad thai, but I mean, if I go to a Thai place, I just have to get the curry, which is not bad either. That's great, but, people get me, I get jealous of people who can eat pad thai, actually. And it's a weird place to be.
I think it is, because pad thai, you're the first person that I've ever heard that they can't handle it, not because they dislike it, but because there's like an involuntary aversion to it. That's interesting.
It should be. Oh, go on. Sorry.
No, for me, when I see pickled eggs, like the ones that they have in a bar, I go like, who the hell thinks it's a good idea to consume that? It's like, ew.
Well, I've not had one of those, but I like fried pickles, and I like.
Those are.
But fried pickles are completely different. That's a pickle. That's supposed to be pickled.
Exactly.
And covered in frying, it's not a challenging take at all. That's easy. Maybe not easy to do, but it's an easy sell,
Anything fried, if you like savory stuff, odds are that you can at least give it a go. What I don't understand is people that go like, oh, have you had bull's testicles? And I go like, no, what does it taste like? And I always get the same answer. It tastes like fried oysters. And I always offer the same answer. Then why don't you eat fried oysters? Because it's like, yes, I am so manly that I ate the testicles of another animal, and it was fried, and it tasted like something completely different. And I go like, okay.
Yeah, like my wuss move where I ate the fried tentacles, the fried squid or whatever. But back when I was a little, like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna like squid, so I ate fried squid when I was out in Oregon. And like it was great, it was good, but it was like basically just fish sticks or whatever, like, fried fish. It's just like, okay, that's fine. Slightly different shape.
Like No, they're like the onion rings of the sea.
Yeah, delicious. Anyway. Jeez, I don't know why. This conversation from before the show is bleeding in. We're talking food, and that's fine. I mean, this show goes where it goes. But so, JD, tell the listeners a little bit about what you write, and maybe a little bit more about what you eat.
So I've been writing for a long time, but the first book I published was in 2013. It's called Only Human, the first book of the Human Cycle. It has a sequel called Shadow of a Human. And Beyond Human is it's my George R.R. Martin moment where I'm taking a sweet time, but when people read it, they're gonna understand why it's not. This series started me daring myself, like, can you write a book? It's like for my first book, I'm gonna do a series because obviously you're Indian, you're ignorant, and you do stupid stuff like that. And it started out like. If you're reading the book, you notice when it shifts. I'm trying to impress myself and other people and whatnot, and I'm agnostic, and I try to weave that in, and then suddenly it starts to get personal and stuff from me and my life, and stuff that's not me preaching or anything, just parts that are really hearty bits of me start to come through in the story. So it's like a lot of information and set up the first 10 chapters, and then the story begins.
Oh, okay. Sounds like you could have used an editor back then, but oh well, it happens. Or yourself a little bit more knowledge,
I reread my own books recently. I love it, warts and all.
Okay. Well, that's a good place to be, healthy.
Now, even with the flaws, I like where it's at. Beyond that, I also write poetry. I write middle grade fantasy. I write nonfiction. And nonfiction, I have a collection of essays, and one which is called Peace, Love, and Monkey Rolls, which is how I close off all my videos and all my blog posts, which is what I wish upon people, which is peace, self-explanatory, love, self-explanatory, and monkey rolls, meaning good food. I want, and it is a guide to creative kindness, because people think that you can only be kind one way, and there's like so many ways to be kind. And in the times that we're living, where it's never been easier to pick a fight online or offline.
I hear that.
and I don't know, I think there's better ways to use your calories and energy. So I did that, and another quirky stuff that I do is, it's called blank comics. My grandmother she actually had advanced glaucoma. She was like 90-something% blind. If she looked at you, she could only see like your silhouette and just outlines of people, and very blurry at that. But she could tell stories like with a lot of detail when she did have sight. And rather than just do a tribute to her with a character or story or something like that, I wanted a concept to be a tribute to Tata. So basically, I do the comics, I do all the panels, I write all the sound effects, and I stylize the speech bubbles, etc. And below, I put like a guideline of what should appear in each of the panels. Mm-hmm. For people to draw their own comic. The idea is to have people draw the comic to exercise, because it's got several purposes. A couple of years back, and the event that I do the best in is called the Puerto Rico Comic Con, and I'm returning now in 2022. And they had a talent scout for, I'm not sure if it's Marvel or DC, I always forget. And about 200 kids went to talk with Scout, and they chose 2 people out of like 200, and there was a lot of people who were crestfallen and just bummed out because they didn't make it. They didn't make the cut. Mm-hmm. I was like, no, dude, you gotta keep going, blah blah blah. And rather than just leave myself at thoughts and prayers and stuff like that, I did this concept so that any artist from anywhere, doesn't have to be a Puerto Rican, I don't care, if it helps your portfolio. The idea is for you to draw the comic, have it in your portfolio, show it off, and get hired. That would be my ideal scenario. That's something that I wrote could help an artist get work. That was one purpose. The other purpose is to promote tolerance of points of view, because if I ask you to draw a car and I ask someone else to draw a car, I'm going to draw two different types of cars. And who's right? You're both right. And just to try to promote dialogue a bit more, which, again, a little lacking in 2021.
Yeah, maybe next year. Maybe next year we'll do better. But yeah, that's hopefully, you know, I can dream. I can dream of that.
There's better dreams to have.
So, yeah, exactly. And I really appreciate that. That sounds like a great idea, actually. You know, have other people draw their own comic, but they don't have to write it. So you take out that they don't have to write any of the you know, script or the equipment. Yeah, that sounds awesome. It's like a great kind of like one of those coloring books, but a little more effective for people. You know, more artistic, more for like more practical. Let's say more rather than just relaxing in some sense. Or I don't know what the right word is, because none of those others who were kind of condescending toward the people who like the adult coloring books, which I don't think there's anything wrong with. I guess my point was that it's just maybe more advanced, perhaps, for people who are going to draw the line art as well. You know,
now, that's the problem that I found, that it is too advanced, and that's why a lot of people say, "Oh, that's a great idea," but it doesn't go beyond that. And I've tried to go to schools with the concept, and I just haven't been able to get it to more people and whatnot for whatever reason. There's like, do you know what a keylog is?
No.
when they're moving logs down a river.
Okay.
Yard,
yeah.
And there can be a jam. There can be like a huge jam of. There's one thing called a keylog. When you have that jam, probably there's one log that if you move and dislodge, it'll let everything.
All the other ones will flow free. Yeah.
And there's a guy whose job is to find the keylog and remove it and allow it to flow. I haven't found that guy or that guy.
Yeah.
Or whatever I need to make that work. But what is the issue is that it's like 10 or 12 pages. It's like a full comic.
Yep.
And people that
it can be intimidating.
It is very intimidating, and I realized that. I had an artist that pretty much worked on it, and she was like, "Oh, this is really challenging," but I really like her artwork, and I think I'm going to tell her, give me the high-res files, I'll give you a lump sum of money, and I'm just going to publish it.
Okay.
Her artwork and how she gave it a spin is what I love. It's a perfect example of my ideal scenario. There's actually an angel. One of the concepts is called tricks and ladders. There's an angel and a magician, and they solve unsolvable crimes because they work in a semi-private detective agency. Just quirky, whimsical, fun, and whatnot. And she drew the angel with a top bun and with overalls. And I'm like, why? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, I love that.
Oh, yeah. Does this angel also have wings, or is it kind of just abstract? Okay, great. Now I just wanted to get a full picture, I suppose, before I can actually see it, you know.
That was her interpretation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The thing is that if you want to draw it like a cherub, or if you want to draw it like, you know, an archangel, you know,
or like one of those creepy, multi-eyed Abrahamic style old school angels,
with 10,000 tongues.
Oh yeah. Or it's just like, or you do like, is one of the giant angels. I used to like reading up about the old weird angel myths and stuff, and like about the ones that are like the size of a continent or something. Like, it's a 500-year foot journey to walk past this guy's head. That's the translation of one of their, like, how big is this thing?
Yeah.
Pretty amusing and weird. Like, I mean, imagine how creepy that would be. Like, you're sitting next to this creature that's so big that you'll never see the other side of it.
You just hope it doesn't sneeze.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually that kind of cosmic. I mean, it's not horror really, because the angels aren't really bad guys in this context, but it is scary, and it's like the cosmic. It's kind of like, I guess that it's like that story, the story about the Monkey King. Are you familiar with this one? Where the Monkey King is rampaging, right? This is a Buddhist story, basically. So he's going on, and all the gods. It's like I forget. I don't know what part of the world this really comes out of, but all the gods are like, yeah, this Monkey King has kicked us out of heaven. He's running amok. He's doing everything he wants, and we're getting nothing Because Monkey King is extremely powerful, mind you. He's like the most powerful mortal that ever lived or whatever in this context.
Okay.
And so eventually they go to the Buddha and they're like, okay, Buddha, we need to help you. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've heard this story, but okay, Buddha, you've got to help us get rid of this Monkey King. He's awful. We can't lock him up. We can't do anything. He just escapes. He causes more trouble. And so the Buddha just, okay, fine, I'll take care of it. So he goes to the Monkey King and says, all right, I challenge you to match Monkey King. I'll wager that you stop causing trouble. If you win, you get to be king of the universe or whatever. You get to rule everything. But if you lose, you got to stop causing trouble. You got to be my disciple. I'm pretty sure that's what he wagers, something like that. And so and they challenge it, and it's a jumping contest, which is like the Monkey King, 10,000 Lee somersault or whatever, cloud somersault, whatever. This is a cinch. He's like, you're just an old Buddha. I'm gonna out jump you, no trouble. So he jumps, and he jumps so far. He jumps like to the edge of the universe and beyond. I mean, he jumps a few times. He gets like 3 tries, and he marks his spot every time. And then he comes back, and the Buddha's like, and he's like, yeah, beat that. And the Buddha's like, okay, well, done. Because he's like, you still haven't managed to jump out of my palms. So it's like the metaphor there. You see the marks that the Monkey King made, but they're just in the Buddha's hand. Mm-hmm. Each of the marks is in his hand. So he's like really tiny. It's just like, it's that vibe of like, you're a tiny part of the universe. It doesn't matter how badass you are. You're not going anywhere. I mean, you're this little tiny organism. Oh, you've got a certain limited range at any rate.
I always enjoy stories where people's egos are checked.
Yes.
And in that sense, the Monkey King, we know, all of us know Monkey Kings and Queens in our lives, that it's like, man, you need someone to take you down a couple of notches. And when it does, actually happen, which is not often, because there's some people that just are just doing foolish stuff for years, and the check never bounces, and you go like, what? But there are some occasions where the people do get their comeuppance, and you go like, I'm not gonna gloat, I'm just gonna smile inwardly.
Yeah, it's one of those like, I better not. I don't want to be smug, because then I'm gonna need my comeuppance. Exactly. I better be respectful about this, but it happens.
Exactly. It's like they're there, and then yeah.
A little bit of a fist pump.
Yeah.
Maybe a secret one. But yeah. So, I guess I can't believe I went on and told that little Monkey King story. It's one of my favorites, but I can't believe I just did that on the podcast kind of almost unprompted, but that's how it goes sometimes. So, what you mentioned your first novel, that series, what exactly is it about? Because you didn't really go into detail.
It's an urban fantasy about
Okay.
It's the hero's journey archetype, and I wanted to do my own spin on that. A reporter called Nathaniel Reynolds. He's a jaded reporter who hates his job. I wonder where I got that inspiration. He's not having the best of days, and it suddenly gets worse because he gets kidnapped by a vampire. And a vampire's like, okay, dude, everything that you think is real, it's not real. It's all bullshit. And for some reason, you're expendable. You're completely expendable. But you can really help us out, and I need to use you. So there's like 2 choices. Either you're my dinner, or you're going to help me save the world. And it's that.
Awesome. Actually sounds really cool. I kind of love the character being... Yeah, I mean, it's one of those like universal fantasies, to quote this book that I read recently, where the character's pulled out. Like, the character wouldn't do this on their own, but they're pulled out of kind of a boring or a life that they've grown sick of. Because everybody kind of wants that, right? Like, everybody wants like the feeling of something changed, and it might not be good, but it's exciting.
I wrote it, and I've continued writing it because deep down we have that desire that we either want to be special, or want to be part of something special, or want to be important, or want anything that we do to have gravitas and an impact. And then when we're thrust into that, it's like, oh shit, what have I gotten myself into? So it's that juxtaposition between wanting that adventure, then being thrust in the adventure, and go like, how am I going to get out of this, or just survive? And so it's that, and it's basically, each of the books explores different facets of humanity. I wanted to have that be the focus. The first one being the body, the second one being the psyche, the third one being the soul. First one being the psyche. I wanted to create a universe where it's not homogeneous in the sense that all vampires can do this and all vampires can do that. No, all vampires have special powers. All humans have special powers. And the thing is that every living being has cardinal points that if you, like pressure points, if you unlock that, you can get special abilities. And it varies from person to person in terms of how many and which abilities and the strength of each ability. Because I wanted it to be a little bit more personalized that way. And not everyone being able to do the same thing, because sometimes you need someone who's better at X or Y thing. And, you know, this person, there are very few daywalkers, but there are some daywalkers, but it's not, it's a different type of anomaly. And I wanted to explore it that way. That he landed with the vampires was by chance, and he could have landed by another, because everyone was realizing that one human is pretty much gearing humanity to hell and to destruction, because that is the nature of some humans. Some people want salvation and want to do what their part and whatnot, and other people just want to watch the world burn. I wanted to take that concept of watching the world burn a little further. So basically, it's just a villain that wants everything to be black and white. It's a gray morality that we're living in. He's had enough, and that's his main driver. I'm not spoiling anything because it's pretty clear from the get-go that that's pretty much the driver from this character. So it's that, and then they have to go. It's kind of like a quest in the sense that they have to talk to the different factions and the different covens and whatnot to get the support. So they have to meet with child vampires, which have been stuck as children, and there's other peoples and other groups that have different quirks and different aspects to them. Then there are other, it
sounds like there's a lot going on. Are these big books? I'm just curious now.
Well,
here you're going to show. Oh, so it is a thick book. Yeah, that's a thick boy there.
Yeah, but check out the font. No one can see it, but you can.
Oh, it's pretty. It looks small. Maybe I'm wrong.
It's like 9 because if I.
Oh my gosh! So is that like how many words? Did you get a word count on that sucker?
154.
Oh wow! Okay, I've only one book that's longer than that.
So.
And none that are like the same length. Like all my books are short mostly. Come on.
After this one, I don't think I'm going to do one that long because it was fun, but it just brings other challenges. So it's that exploration, and it's meeting that there are other types of creatures out there, and everyone, it's all hands on deck so that the world doesn't implode, basically.
Okay. Well, cool. I mean, and I love a good urban fantasy, especially one with a lot of, depth to it. And it sounds like you deliver that kind of thing. Honestly, it sounds very like there's a lot of world going on there, which I appreciate a lot.
No, there's a lot of
just
world
in general.
Building, and with the first book, I wanted it to start in a nondescript U.S. city because that's the cliche. It's either that or London or Paris or someplace in Italy. And it starts from the U.S., crosses the Atlantic, and then goes like Europe and Egypt and Africa.
Oh, nice!
And then
so it's contemporary, but it's not set in one city. That's pretty cool. And a lot of urban fantasies stick around in a pretty local area, right? Like the Dresden Files or Iron Druid. I think is mostly set in my neck of the woods, but in the city areas.
Part of the fun was researching different places to find different places, and then. Eventually flipping that on its head, because there's some places that are basically, super magical. But then if you're in a boat and you drive like half a mile, in one direction, you're gonna see like a duplex condo. It's like, what is this? It's like the magic is here, and then the humanity and the crap that we bring to it is here as well. It's like, You can get bargain T-shirts here, but there's a monastery that they haven't seen a woman in I don't know how many, and it's like in the same lake. There's a place called Lake Tana in Eritrea in Western. Well, no, that's not Western. That's like Middle Eastern Africa. It's in the heart of Africa, and you see pictures of the place, and you see it's just jaw-dropping, these things that you see. And then you go ahead a little bit more, and there's like this little pimple of humanity that you got. But there's still the magic, and I think it's been interesting to explore that every place has its pimples, and every place has its magic, and you have to seek it out, and you have to seek the answers that you want. And again, research is so much fun, because for each of these books, I have like a dump file of 200 pages of miscellaneous information. It's like, I want to know about architecture. I want to know about this religion. I want to know about something about alchemy or celestial bodies or stuff like that. And it's like, if I'm ever stuck or like, feeling a bit, not super enthused of where I'm at, I take the file and literally just scroll up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and then just stop the file and see what's there. I copy a chunk, I put it in another document, and then I take out like 3 sentences of information that just sparks ideas.
Awesome. That's it. Now there's a method for you. Jeez. It's actually just, I don't even know what to say about it. But also, we're very low on time because we've spent a lot of time bullshitting, which is great. But I do appreciate it, and I do want to move on to one last segment. What have you been reading lately? Any chance of any good reading going on over there?
I was reading a bunch of stuff, and then I'm not going to mention the book that I was reading that kind of turned me off because I didn't like the Latino representation, because I was like, oh man, does it always have to be a gang member? And I was disappointed because the book was pretty good until that point, and then every 3 pages I was like, and I was like, you know what? For my last book for my Goodreads challenge, I read The Hobbit, and now I'm reading Lord of the Rings. So
okay.
It's been good to go to something that I know is going to deliver and is going to leave me happy.
That makes perfect sense. I mean, for me, I actually went back to a book that, because I've been reading a bunch on my phone lately, and I can't really read print books anymore. It's very strange. And I used to be like, I'll never switch to ebooks, and now I'm like, how could I ever read a print book again? I don't know. Maybe it'll happen, but I don't know how.
That's curious, though. For me, because of my eye fatigue, reading on a screen and reading on a phone is not an option right now.
Oh, that's too bad. I mean, I find it's just so portable. That's what I like about it. It's like I always have it, which is there's just no beating that. And then also, and also, I don't have the eye problems not to that extent. I can barely see without my glasses, but I don't have eye fatigue, so I'm a little bit. I can read on a screen. I'm lucky in that way. But it's one of those. It's this book. It's by Nnedi Okorafor that I tried to read years ago. I think I have the print version around here somewhere. It's called Who Fears Death, and it is an extremely grim book in a lot of ways. Very bleak in certain ways. I don't know about grim. I know she doesn't like it when people call her book grim, but it's a dark fantasy or a post-apocalyptic novel. I'm not sure which exactly. Okay, how exactly?
Does she mind bleak? Does she mind bleak?
I don't know. I think bleak is one way to put it, because it starts off very kind of fatalistic, because with a flash forward where we realize the main character is going to have a pretty rough time of it, and then that's paid off pretty well so far throughout the book. I'm still reading it, but it's intense. Let me put it that way. There's a lot of I can't even go to it. Strong content warning. There's a lot of violence of all kinds. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
And the main character appears to be some kind of shapeshifter, which is awesome. I love that.
Okay. As long as it's engaging, I don't care if it's any type of.
Oh, it is. The writing style in this book is amazing, and partially because it's kind of blunt at times. Like at the beginning of the book, there's this. This is not a big spoiler. It's like the first scene. There's this chapter where it's like a funeral, and at one point the main character's kind of powers or whatever activate, and she repels everything that's been gathered, like all the animals and stuff that have been gathered for whatever reason that are nearby, and she just kind of lifts all the things she's throwing away, and then the sand is and then the sand being thrown away too. I don't know about obviously, but it's like a North African post-apocalyptic fantasy.
Interesting.
Or maybe sub-Saharan. I don't know exactly where it's set, but it's somewhere in our world, I think, to some extent. But in the future, what do I know? I'm guessing. I haven't finished the book yet, and honestly, this is one of those books that was so intense that I didn't finish it when I tried to read it years ago, because it's that intense. It's very gruesome at times. Yeah.
So it got to a point where you were like, I can't.
Yeah, I'm out for now. Like I'm a very. It's not even like that. It's not even like again. It's a little like we talked about before the show with Pad Thai. It's not a conscious decision that I'm like, I don't like this. It's like I can't handle this, and in this case, and when I can't handle fiction, for like the reasons that I couldn't handle some of the scenes in this book. This is why I say strong content warning for violence and all sorts of things. It's that my brain shuts off and I kind of collapse. I literally have passed out reading books because they were too gruesome.
Wow.
And they're not even visual, but my imagination goes there, and they're like, I got to get out of here. So I just better switch off the old brain pan, I guess, for a second or two, and then I can wake up after a nap that's a little uncomfortable. And it's happened to me with a bunch of books and movies and things. You know, I can't handle even semi-realistic gore anymore. I've gotten more sensitive as I've gotten older, I think.
For me, it depends on if it's something that can happen to me. Like I would never watch Hostel.
Yeah, no, exactly. I've never seen any of that.
Saw in the Woods or Vacancy. No, I'm
well,
good.
Cabin in the Woods isn't particularly. It's kind of it's a little different.
But just the subject matter, I would go like, yeah, not interested.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, honestly, when I think about like a lot of horror stuff, and I'm like just today, I went out walking at this park near my house, but it's like on the edge of town, and I live in a town of 10,000 people. It's on the edge of town, and the sun is about to set, and I'm walking in this like forest, right? And there's no one else there. I'm like, okay, I should probably go back before the sun gets really dark. Because I might be a big guy, but I'm not. It's not like I'm gonna be okay if somebody if like a bear comes out of nowhere or some guy with a knife shows up or whatever. No, I don't want to. I'm not messing with fate here. I'm not tempting fate. I'm going home.
No, I'm very much of gut instincts, and I do go to walks and stuff like that just to clear my head or just to exercise. And there are parts of the route that I would never go on, or I've started and I go like, yeah, I don't like how this feels because this reminds me of some story, and no, I'm good.
Yeah,
I literally turn back, and if I have to double down on the other laps or whatever to get my steps in, I do that, and I avoid that like the plague.
Yeah, that reminds me of I think it was an interview with the Warhammer 40,000 like concept artist John Blanche from way back. This was like from back in the 90s. He did this interview in one of the game magazines I used to read. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about how his imagination was such that he like couldn't ride a motorcycle or do like there was a long list of things he would never do because he was too worried of it ending badly. And I kind of understand that now. I've gotten to the point where at one point, I mean, I guess this was again years ago, but I was reading "I'm Not a Serial Killer" by Dan Wells, and I was almost done with it, and I'm like, why am I walking out here in the middle of the night? Not in the middle of the night, in the dark of night. It's winter in Minnesota, so it's dark like 60% of the day at least.
Yeah.
So
it was 3 p.m. and it was already dark.
No. It must have been maybe 5. It's like 5. The sun set long ago though at this point. And I'm walking around, and I'm like, the street lights are coming on. Okay, great, but there's a street light near my corner that's out. There's no street light, and I keep thinking, why am I doing this? Especially because I've been reading this book lately, where the main victims are all larger than average men. Okay, why? This was really smart. I'm gonna get my organs stolen, aren't I? I certainly felt that way at the time. Anyway, nope, got away just clean. Didn't encounter a demonic serial killer that night.
No, even when I'm driving, if something feels off or I've almost had a near crash, I go like, yeah, I'm not taking this exit ever again. Like,
superstition, yeah.
super. Because I go like, nah, yeah, I'm done with this route.
That's it. Can't go there anymore. And speaking of can't go there anymore, no, I don't know if that's a good transition, but we are out of time. It's been a lot of fun, and tell people where they can find your books on the internet and your website and stuff.
If you're gonna get my physical books and you live in the United States or Puerto Rico, there's a indie bookstore from Puerto Rico called Tazas y Portadas. You can get my books signed and dedicated, and they are unique dedications. I didn't copy paste. If you're in other places or don't want to take that route, you can go to the Zon. I will be participating in the Puerto Rico Comic Con 2022. So if you are in Puerto Rico or would like a great excuse to visit the island and just visit an indie author that's going to be at the event, by all means, swing by. It's a lot of fun. And they do take a lot of precautions to make sure that everyone's going to be safe. On Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. And I do have the TikTok channel. I haven't started there because I'm still trying to learn the dances.
Boy.
Eventually I'll take the leap, but until I find the way that I enjoy myself, I'm not going to do it. So you can find me there, J D Estrada writer. If I'm on somewhere, do that search and you're going to find me.
Excellent. And as for this podcast, I mean, great thanks to J D Estrada. This has been pretty much what I was hoping for with a podcast with him. And as for this podcast, you can find more of this show at mentalcellarpublications.com. Mentalcellarpublications.com. Sorry, I shouldn't speak so quickly. And you can find my books at timniederreiter.com/books. That's got all the list. And soon there's going to be a page just for the Kindle Vella stories, because there's 10 of those, folks. And I don't want you to scroll all the way down the page on timniederreiter.com/books to find them. So thanks for listening, everybody. It's been great. Have a good week. It's the holidays, so I hope everyone has a nice season, and don't stress out too much, folks. It's not good for you. If you can help it, relax a little. Find some time. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.
That tears it.